Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here is the truthism of the day, and I doubt seriously if anybody is going to disagree with this. Question: why do I have to press 1 for English when you're just going to transfer me to somebody I can't understand anyway? Think about it. Good morning, here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, we got a busy day. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And then also some of our great advertisers, which include Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, locally owned and operated. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. And the fog's coming back over here. What's going on? Hey, good morning, Gina.
Well, good morning, sunshine. Oh, there you go. It helps if I have my mic on. Good morning.
Yeah, I always appreciate being able to hear your pretty tones. Hey,
yes.
I have got, I want to get you involved in a little bit of a conversation over a big mess.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about that after the weather and some other commercials and everything. But I just want to get you involved in this because as a journalist, and have been for many years, I want your opinion on something.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a pledger?
We have, I do believe, Art Smith on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Well, it's not Art Smith. It's Johnny Cash.
Is it Johnny Cash?
Yeah, he hears the train a-coming.
Ah.
All right, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. Boy, isn't that Gina good? How did she know that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I hear the train a-coming. It's coming down the tracks, and go ahead and give us our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Someday, when you haven't got anything to do and I've got a little time, call me up and we'll do some of your songs that you do on the air. Johnny Cash is one of my favorites of all time, and I love the way you do that ragged old flag, but also I hear the train a-coming. It's coming down the tracks, and you sing that for us some morning.
I'd be proud to do it for you, Zeb.
All right, God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Art Smith, really a nice guy.
I can hear Johnny Cash in his voice.
Oh, yeah, and he just kind of goes, "I'll hear the train a-coming."
I know. Even when he's talking, I hear Johnny Cash.
Yeah, and he milks that cow dry, let me tell you. Hey, we got to get the weather on here. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. And I'll tell you what, these people are so good. Let me see what I've got here. They want to let people know that they're having what's called a girls' night out on Friday, February 6th at 6 to 7:30. And if they register before Wednesday today, let's see. I got to get this all figured out, which includes all the craft supplies and treats and everything. And if you register after the 4th of February, it's only $8. I see. The cost is $5 if you register before the 4th, and if you afterwards, it's $8. Save yourself some money and go to this girls' night out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Boy, in my mind, I couldn't see what I was reading. And, of course, look for the blue door. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Good morning, everybody. Your weather situation is as such that this is the time I can tell you what's going to happen ahead of time, because it's a mess out there this morning. I look for a high today about 46, 31 for the overnight low. Fog should burn off, the rain should end, and you're looking at a pretty good weekend with temperatures in the 40s, and it's going to start as early as tomorrow and carry you all the way into possibly Sunday. So just get through the day and everything will be fine. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Michael, of course, great photographer and weatherman, doing a fantastic job for Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. I want to take just a minute after I do a couple of more commercials to discuss what's going on. And this is really important because somebody, some organization, or the United States Army is going to end up with a lot of egg on their face. Stand by. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, open 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday. Number to call, have your whatever electrical needs right there on the counter waiting for you, 678-0459. And don't forget now, I know it sounds good the next couple of days, 40s, 50s, warmer, January thaw, the whole 9 yards. Don't be fooled. The cold weather's coming in, and you better check on your furnace filters. Make sure they got a good one so your furnace can keep you cozy. Stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Oh, and by the way, Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert with Sean and Mandy and the whole crew. They're planning a huge Valentine deal. So I'll have the information for you, I think, starting Monday. And they've got a huge shipment of camo clothing that just arrived. You can stand right there in your living room and nobody can see you. Hoodies, shirts, pants, anything you want right there. And all their boots are 20% off through February 1st. So you get over to Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Okay, I want to get Gina in here on this for a minute. Longtime news girl. Gina, I want to explain something to you, and I want your opinion. Okay. Number one, on Monday morning, I do this every day, and I don't know if you know our routine over here, but first thing I do at 5 a.m. when I get into my office is call New York City and Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I call a couple of the think tanks back there as to what's going on in the news, and they give me elaboration on various news stories that are making big headlines that particular day.
Okay.
Now, I also called Fox News, New York, and also NBC, okay?
Okay.
So I had 5 different sources as I wanted to confirm what Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer had come out with, and was talking about Bowe Bergdahl going through charges for desertion. Are you with me so far?
I'm with you.
That afternoon, at noon, NBC News and Fox were running stories on this, as were other newscasting sources, that he was going to be charged with at least desertion, okay? And then, yesterday, the whole mess got worse as Admiral Kirby for the Navy stood up and said, no charges had been filed. And the General Miley that is looking into the situation on Bowe Bergdahl, and he's the one that's going to go yay or nay, they said that he hadn't finished the report yet. Well, now, first of all, those words are not correct. The report has been finished for quite some time. Miley, hasn't made a decision yet, according to Admiral Kirby. So, in my estimation, when you have, in my case, 5 different sources, not related at all. 5 different sources. NBC News touts that they had their sources in the Pentagon and also elsewhere. Fox News, major networks that are saying the same thing. What's going on here?
From my professional standpoint, were any of their sources named?
Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer and, oh my goodness, I forgot the other man's name.
So basically, so people did come forward from the Pentagon and say, okay, this is what's going on. Maybe, and this is just my speculation, maybe they opened their mouth before that they were supposed to, and they got reprimanded.
Schaefer's retired, but here's the whole situation as I'm looking at it, and I'm open. Yesterday, if you'll go back on the program yesterday, I said and credited the sources that had given me the information, okay? And what really is a fly in the milk over this thing, and I think you as a journalist would agree, how come all of these people are coming forward and saying what is going to happen with the charges against Bergdahl? They have elicited also comments about Bergdahl's private attorneys as to what they're going to try to do to fight this. Mm-hmm. These people are quality people, NBC, Fox, and these other private sources. And it makes one wonder why the military and the Army are not coming forth with more information.
And this is just speculation on my part. Maybe they did, and like I said, speculation, maybe they did kind of leak some information to basically test the waters. Yeah. To see what kind of public response would come from whatever kind of charges that they were going to give Bowe Bergdahl, because this has been a story that the news media has been following since day one, since Bowe Bergdahl went missing. Right. So the public already has a sentiment towards this story, whether it be, he's guilty or, for his supporters, he's not guilty. So this story is already entrenched in the media.
But there's the key to the story, in my opinion, is not whether the sources have done something to leak something erroneous, which I don't think they have.
Probably not.
Or the military holding back on their decision. The key that's going to unlock this whole story, to me, is our government and our president. And I'll tell you why. There was a comment made a long, long time ago when this first came up about Bergdahl and the swap for the 5 prisoners, the Guantanamo Bay Evil 5, they call them. Mm-hmm. And there was a comment made by many, many people in the news media and also members of the military that, this is going to create a firestorm against Obama. And now, more so than ever before, going to the 2016 elections, where Obama is going to do everything he can to try to keep Democratic power and try to sway the public opinion to go more for his socialist values in the next 2 years. This president doesn't want any bad PR regarding Bergdahl and those 5 evil people. No,
he doesn't want any bad PR. But really, I mean, look at his public approval rating. I mean, it's in the tank. So I really don't think that it would behoove Obama to stick his nose in this one. Let the military handle it.
Well, but the liberal left on this thing, they're very protective, and I think honestly that here's what's going to happen if it doesn't happen today or tomorrow. Mark my words. This may turn into a late Friday afternoon newscast that is released so that the general public glosses over it and really it's gone by Monday morning.
I honestly think that you're right on this one, because they want as little press as possible. Even though the media, we're dying for this information. We want this information. And they just want to kind of late afternoon Friday, they're going to make some little press release that's going to be overlooked because, you know what, hey, we're prepping for the weekend, man. Yeah.
Well, anyway, we'll see, and we'll keep following this, because the minute I get off the air this morning, I'm going to be back back on the phone to New York and Washington to some of the people I work with, including, I am putting a call into Catherine Herridge.
Yes.
And you remember Catherine, Fox News terrorist expert, and I'm going to try to get her on the air for this next week if I can and discuss this mess.
Well, one thing that I will bring this up before we close out on this section, didn't you find it kind of ironic that they put it out during prime time? Last night? You
know, really, I was listening to Pete Hegseth. You know who he is, don't you? He is the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. Mm-hmm. This young man, I've never seen him so mad. I have never seen him go on TV with such a frustrated look and the veins standing out in his neck. And he is so mad at our government for basically, I think I can use this word, whitewashing this situation with Bergdahl at the risk of basically slapping his fellow soldiers, especially his own platoon, in the face.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I got to pay some bills.
And we've got Al on the phone.
Okay, I'll be right there with it. Stand by. Berry Equipment and Rental, Eli. I saw the old Packer backer yesterday. Yes, I did. Eli is alive and well, and he's as disgusted as I am that the Packers aren't in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, Berry Equipment and Rental, Eli, Nick, and the whole crew, Addison Avenue West, Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. We stopped in at the Twin Falls location yesterday and talked to Eli for a little bit. Holy smokes. I mean, they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Everybody knows they've got the equipment to do the job right. They're going to be at Agra Action February 5th through the 7th at CSI's Expo Center. Don't miss them. They're going to have some special deals at Berry Equipment and Rental. And 3 locations, Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30. Al, I'm coming. Stand by. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Oh, I love talking about Denny's. The food is absolutely delicious. Dan, do you have that copy for me that we talked to Eli about the other day? Okay, ask him about that, would you please? Denny's Restaurant, 611 Oberlin in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and oh, it is good. All their omelets, all their different breakfast entrees, and lunch and dinner. Oh, my goodness, you're going to love it. I mean, absolutely love it. The service is fantastic. And they've got a new Denny's at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Great food, excellent service, Denny's Restaurant. Good morning, Al.
Good morning, Zeb. I was watching that last night, and when you get Catherine Harris on, try and get Colonel Ralph Peters on. Last night I watched Sean Hannity a while when he had that do-gooder on there, and then Peters was there with him.
Yeah.
And he started, glossing it over and all that. Even Sean was doing it. And, man, that Peters uncorked, and when he come loose, whoo, I did not want to be in the same room with that man. He was mad.
You know, Al, you served our country, and you know the military. And there's a whole bunch of questions I have that I can't wait to ask someone the likes of Catherine Herridge or Colonel Peters. But, the report is finished. It's finalized. Everything is done. All the information has been turned in. And it's been over 6 months. And yet, we keep getting kind of a logjam. And of the reports that I've had, and I want you to respond to this, from various sources in Washington, D.C. and New York, and they've also given some of that information to the networks, this General Miley, why? Why is he not giving a decision?
Well, because you got guys like that Admiral, which is, as far as I'm concerned, a disgrace to the naval uniform. Excuse me. They're just trying to soft soap this crap and stick it underneath the table and the rug and let it all smooth over. It don't make a difference because he deserted his comrades in a time of war, and some of them was killed trying to find him.
Well,
as far as I'm concerned, that Admiral has no business being in that office telling the United States government or the military how to handle this case. Yeah. Leave it alone. Let the military do the job like it calls for in the Military Code of Justice, and let it go at that.
It's going to be very interesting to see over the next 24, 48, or whatever hours how this story is handled. There are many now, a lot of the people that work for the O'Reilly organization back at Fox News, they are really jumping on this thing like rabid dogs, as are people, and this surprised me. There are a lot of people at NBC News that are very upset because their sources also had given them that information, and they're jumping on this. So I don't think, Al, that the government and or this general and or this admiral are going to be able to cover their tracks.
No, I don't think so, because I think, just like Colonel Peters said, he said, I'm getting damn sick and tired of this whitewashing all this crap under the table. He said, that man does not deserve to be in the military. He should not get a promotion. He should not get his back salary. He should be court-martialed. If they find him guilty of desertion, he should be stood up and shot.
Al, appreciate your comments as always. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I've got another story that just really bugs me this morning. Scows CarQuest, auto and truck parts. Scows are the best, and every detail matters. They've got locations in Rupert, Heyburn, and Burley, and let me tell you, they've got the best of people. They've got all the best of your automotive products. And right now, sign up today for the Fleet Filter Survey, a great way to save time when something breaks down this spring. Hold on a minute, I got a cough. I'm back. Call them to find out all about this survey. Jeff and the rest of the crew always serving you, and Scows CarQuest is teamed up with the Baldwin Filters, the best heavy-duty filters out there. Fleet Filter Surveys. Check it out at Scows CarQuest. They've got 3 locations, 323 East 8th Street and Highway 25 in Rupert, 518 Overland in Burley, and their big truck center at I-84 Exit 211 in Heyburn. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here is another story that just absolutely, it needs to be brought out and emphasized. It needs to be criticized. All of us should absolutely demand that this network, first of all, I wasn't in favor of Al Gore owning Al Jazeera TV. Remember this great big hubbub about Al Gore and Al Jazeera TV, the voice of the Middle East, Al Jazeera TV? Well, hold on, caller. Now, Al Jazeera CEOs and all the bigwigs at Al Jazeera here in America have issued an edict to their on-air people. No use of words like terrorism, jihad, Muslims, or Islamic. They're telling them they can't use those words. We'll talk more about this in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, the Times News run a picture this morning that just totally sickened me, and that's that Bergdahl standing in front of the American flag in uniform.
Okay, now you stated your opinion on this, and it makes you sick and it makes you very upset. What are your thoughts about the basic information that you know so far? I mean, we've heard from his platoon mates. They said that he deserted. We know for a fact that people and soldiers that were out looking for him, some died and were killed. What are your thoughts about this overall situation as to why this report is being stymied?
Well, it's total politics again. The government's sticking their nose in, and they're going to whitewash it, and they're going to turn the man loose. Wait and see.
Well, first of all, the man is loose. First of all, the man is getting paid. First of all, the man is up for a whole bunch of back pay. And first of all, nobody has given him any reprimands whatsoever.
That's exactly right. I did my military, and when I was in the military, if you deserted under fire, you were shot.
Yeah. I'm in total agreement with you, and I'm also very upset that the information and the news ability of various sources is being squashed, I honestly believe, by this administration.
you.
All right, sir. I got to run and do a commercial. God bless you, and thank you for your call, as always. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Have a super day.
All right, thank you. Listen, caller number 2, don't you go away. I've got to get this in real fast. I'm running late. Please bear with me. I'll take your call next, I promise. And our Ag Minute is brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-2321. They've got new steel to sell, too. Angle iron, flat steel, tubing, channel, whatever. And they carry trailer parts. They're not just recycling. No, they've got all kinds of goodies for you. And check it out today. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. A pine tree genetically engineered for greater wood density can be grown without restrictions after the USDA decided it lacks authority to regulate the variety. The finding has alarmed critics of genetically modified organisms who fear the new cultivar will cross-pollinate with trees in the wild, resulting in unknown consequences for forests. Arborgen, a tree seedling producer, altered the loblolly pine variety with a gene gun, inserting genetic material from the Monterey pine, the American sweet gum tree, Mousier cress, and E. coli bacteria. None of these organisms are plant pest risks, so the USDA says the pine can be freely cultivated without undergoing environmental studies. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
100% employee-owned and giving you the best of service. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, 678-2321. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, I'm right there with Al and several of your other callers. If it was anybody else other than Bowe Bergdahl, he would have been in the brig until he got his trial, and he would be court-martialed. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they have a firing squad in the service. Mm-hmm. I think he would be put before the firing squad. This administration is sugarcoating, because what the president did and has done for his whole term in office is break the Constitution. They need to take the chief of the military away from him. He should have nothing to do with what happens in the military, nor should any of his cronies.
Well, I'm just going to tell you this, Donna, and I believe this to be very true. As you know, President Obama said many, many times prior to being elected as president, and then many, many times after he sat in the Oval Office, that he wanted to, quote, fundamentally change America. There is a huge change going on, and my wife pulled off at least 6 reports yesterday that are coming from various news agencies that are just absolutely warning us the next 700 days of this man's reign in office are going to be so detrimental for us and our Constitution. I'm going to try to take time later on to get into what he's trying to do up in Anwar, up in Alaska, and everything that he's doing over the next period of time is so detrimental to our economy and our future. This man is scaring me to death.
Oh, I'm right there with you. And he has nothing more to lose right now in the last part of his tenure. So he's going to do, like you said, excuse me, he's going to do everything in his power. What the Congress needs to do, what the House and the Senate need to do, is start chipping away at his power. They have the power to do that.
Well, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that need to be done. I agree. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if they don't, we deserve what we get. You know, you and I can't change things alone, although I'd like to. I'd like to be in the Oval Office with the men for just 2 seconds.
Oh, boy. Let's not go there. Thank you, Donna. God bless you. Thank you.
I'm not gonna, but you know what I mean.
I absolutely do. Thank you for your call.
Yep.
Thank you.
You betcha. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Caller, I'll be right there with you. Don't forget, Canyonside Irwin Realty. I'm very proud to be with them, serving all of the Magic Valley for all your real estate needs. You can call the office number 734-6500, or you can call me at 312-2976. Canyonside Irwin Realty, serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Holy smokes, I'm getting the whole family this morning.
Yeah, well, it's talking to a better part now.
Oh, wow.
That's all right.
Okay.
The reason that the military's not saying that is because Obama is their commander-in-chief, and they've got to do what he says or they'll be court-martialed.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you...
They need to take the commander-in-chief for the military and put it with Congress where not just got one idiot supervising them. That would maybe get more politics out of the military.
Let me ask you a question here, and if you don't want to respond, you don't have to, George, but this situation with Bowe Bergdahl is not anything that's new to you. As a matter of fact, you know a lot more than most people, especially a lot of people in the news, because you have been closer to this situation. What are your thoughts today, honestly, about the way it's being handled, the way he's being treated, the way that his fellow soldiers feel about him, and why they won't come out and respond to the report?
What's sad, Zeb, if you're AWOL, you go straight to the brig, and then you go to a military court-martial. I support the POW 110%, but with the charges he's got, he should have been thrown in the brig and decide was going to court-martial him or not, and then let the military do their justice on him. The government has absolutely no rights interfering with the military doing their job.
Okay,
to screw it up.
Stop there for a minute, George.
He needs to be tried.
Yeah.
If he's guilty, so be it. If he's not, so be it. But you've got to set a standard for the military. If not, what's to stop all of our young men and women on the front lines from walking off?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and I've got to take some more calls and get some commercials in, but were you surprised that when he was brought back to the United States, underneath these allegations and his own troop stepping forward and saying that he deserted his post, were you surprised that basically he was afforded the luxury, if you will, of given an office job?
No, yes, I was surprised. That's not the protocol, and again, that's not the military. That is the government. They've got to do what their commander-in-chief says.
Okay.
Whether it's right or wrong, if they're not, then they get court-martial.
All right, George, thank you so much for your call this morning. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go, please.
There's no other call.
Oh, don't tell me I heard another cow. I guess I did. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the way, did you happen to see the videotape of when Obama and his wife landed in Saudi Arabia, when the Saudis lined up at the airport to welcome President Obama and Michelle? This is really something interesting, because I just caught a glimpse of it this morning in passing, but basically the Saudis were irate. They were mad. When they had the Obamas get off the plane and walk down through the receiving line, none of the Saudis would shake Mrs. Michelle Obama's hand.
Because she wasn't wearing a burqa.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They were furious over this because she had defied them and basically wouldn't honor them, and so they would not shake her hand. And boy, I mean, look at the video if you get a chance on your computer, and look at her face and study her face when they just basically shine her on, and you can just see her getting really teed off.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you're going to go to another custom or go to another country, you have to follow their customs, especially if you're going to be in that office. It's just common protocol. When in Rome, do as the Romans. You've got a phone call.
All right, thank you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Oh, they're backing up. They're backing up. Look out. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk to you about global warming in just a minute. I want to plant some seeds of doubt that you really need to think about. I sat here at my desk yesterday, and I put together a little list I want to share with you, okay? Don't forget, every Tuesday at 10:06, we have Dr. History, and he does a phenomenal job of giving us kind of a history lesson of the Old West and what happened here. And Dr. History is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main in Burley. The number to call, 878-2091. They've got everything, doors and windows and carpet and roofing, and, of course, all your Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment. My goodness, they're busy. Zach and Joanne always serving you with the best at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, sponsoring Dr. History. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Next week on our program, we are going to have some representatives from the Heartland Institute back in Chicago, Illinois. And they are, in my opinion, some of the most well-versed scientists that are looking into global warming and defying this administration and others around the world that are saying we're all going to burn up. You know, when you start thinking about global warming and their accusations about, the polar bears are standing out on little pieces of ice and they're floating away and all this garbage and we're all going to burn up. Wait a minute. Do you realize that if governments of the world try to mess with God and nature made by God, what would be the effects on you and your family and everybody in the world if all of a sudden some of their antics worked in trying to make a colder planet? Now keep in mind that our planet has been cooling drastically for the last 19 years. Now that is a fact. They can't dispute that whatsoever. But all of a sudden, if we did something that would alter man-made alteration of our climate into a much cooler atmosphere, think about these following subjects, and I'm going to go through them relatively fast. We would have a lack of food production because of cold temperatures. We would have extreme energy costs. They estimate the costs could go up 5 to 6 times what they are right now. We would have severe health problems and many more deaths. Health problems and deaths are much higher in colder climates. Major moves to consolidated areas, and that's what governments want, so that they can control the people. We would have limited or no livestock and dairy production. Why? Because there wouldn't be any feed or forage for those animals. We would have an extreme cost of living, so high, I don't know how anybody's income could support trying to live. We would be basically discarding and throwing away our elderly. How would they live? How would they afford to live in assisted living programs? They would be basically outcast from our society. Skyrocketing medical costs. That's a gimme. And also a complete breakdown or stoppage of social events. Very limited and diminished job opportunities. And a complete devaluation of private property. Think about every one of those lists on this contact list that I made up. And they're true. If we went into a much colder society to where, basically, we would be living in a March-April attitude all year long. That's what the Obamas, that's what the global warmers, that's what the Al Gores, that's what they want. And how would anyone survive? Our food production would be not only chopped in half, but probably chopped by 80%. Think about these things. Right now, we're going to do the weather forecast. And then give me a call, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Weather for this hour is brought to you by Red's Trading Post. Really good folks at Red's Trading Post. Ryan's on the air quite a bit, and we're going to have him on next week. I'm going to try to get him to come on and share about what's going on with more gun control measures. Well, right now, they've got a great selection of new firearms by Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, and great selections of all the accessories, all the ammunition, everything right there at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. You stop in and see them today. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hi everyone, Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. Well, you got the rain, you got the fog, you got a mess. Okay, now like as I told you before, 46 below in Fairbanks. It ain't that bad in the Magic Valley. So that being said, what's your weather for today? Well, it's Wednesday. And you're looking for maybe a slight chance of rain, even though it is raining. That fog is going to still hang around, and it's going to slowly but surely skedaddle out of there. 46 for the high wind is going to be out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. That's going to kick the fog out. Fog tomorrow, but still the temperatures are pretty good as far as it being in the 40s all the way through the weekend. The best chance for a lot of sun, very little clouds, is looking like Friday, carrying you all the way over until Sunday night. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. So what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. All your guns, ammo, and accessories. You just think about this. When Al Gore was standing up there touting, oh, we've got to cool the planet off, and all these other people, never once did they address in any of their silly speeches, or even on a local basis, the Times News with their frivolous, absolutely brain-dead op-eds. They never address food production. They never address extreme energy costs. They never address health problems. They never address the extreme cost of living. They don't go into those things because they don't understand it. They just jump on the environmentalist bandwagon and say, oh, why, we believe in global warming. Why, we've got to cool the planet off. But they don't think, because they're not smart enough, about all the ramifications, problems, and death knells that would be sounded for humanity. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Maybe you don't agree. Give me a call. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. Please, give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the way, the Super Bowl, if you've been living under a rock, is going to be this Sunday, February 1st. And if you have a business and you would like to add your name to a commercial that's going to be on during the Super Bowl, well, first of all, you can't, because it's past time, because they're all sold out. And the ad spaces this year for the Super Bowl are up to $4.5 million per 30-second spot. Gina Jameson, we are selling our ads way too cheap.
Well, I was just going to say, boy, howdy, we need to up our rates.
Can you imagine paying $4.5 million per 30-second spot, and you take some commercials like Pepsi and Coca-Cola and others, they will run at least 3 to 4 to maybe even 5 commercials during the day leading up to and right during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they can afford that because, of course, it's, national audience and one of the most watched television events for the entire year.
Yeah, did you hear what happened to GoDaddy, though? Oh, they ran into a hornet's nest.
Oh, what'd they do?
Well, you didn't see the ad yet?
No,
Well, you can pull it up on your computer. It's a GoDaddy ad with race car driver Danica Patrick. And the real star of the ad is a golden retriever puppy. Okay, I can hear you.
I'm typing.
I can hear you figuring it in right now. But anyway, what happens in this ad? You see a little puppy, and the little puppy gets bounced out of the back of a pickup onto a grassy little barrel pit. Okay.
Okay.
Well, the little puppy, he gets up and dusts himself off, and he starts making his trek back towards home. Well, at the end of the commercial, here is the puppy walking in the yard, and a lady stands up and goes, "Oh, you're back. I just sold you on eBay, and it's so good to have you." See, it's a dog raising farm.
Okay.
And the PETA people, they have come out of the woodwork and have absolutely said, "You show that commercial, we are going to go after you." And I didn't think it was that bad an ad. I didn't see anything. I don't think I would have produced the ad for my business, but it's an ad that if you take a look at it and really study it, there's nothing wrong. There's no way the puppy is at all threatened. It's just an ad that basically all you have to do is go to GoDaddy and you can find puppies like this cute little puppy for sale. That's basically the premise, but the PETA people are going over the wall.
I can see why they would go over the wall with this one. Now, I'm sure it is a cute ad, but when you think about the ethics of it all and the type of national audience that you're going to be appeasing to, I don't think I would have produced it.
I think what they were doing, and again, you heard me just a minute ago, I wouldn't have done it for my business, okay? But I think what they were trying to do is amplify that by going through GoDaddy, anything and everything is available through their internet services, and you could find these cute, cuddly puppies. I think that's the general gist of what they were trying to promote. Now, on the other side of the coin with PETA and the anti-ownership of animals and everything, that's why they're jumping on this thing.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
And you know, PETA, don't make them mad.
Well, I don't really care if I make them mad, along with the HSUS and others, because quite frankly, the solicitation of their funding, 90% of it goes right into somebody's pocket and not for the betterment of animals in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just wondering what other commercials will come out this year during the Super Bowl, which is a kind of a premiere when they show their ad spots. I wonder who else is going to fall underneath the gun of scrutiny.
You know, I'm actually Googling that right now just to see what pops up.
Yeah. I know that Pepsi's going to have a whole bunch more to do with the halftime. And there's another question I've got. More people that I've talked to are not fans of Katy Perry. She might be a great entertainer, but really the halftime entertainment at the Super Bowl in the last 10 years has not been appreciated.
I see another wardrobe malfunction coming.
Oh,
that's what I see with
you took away my thunder.
I do. I see another wardrobe malfunction, and we have a phone call.
All right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Hey, I seen a preview of a Budweiser commercial on there, and the puppy in the Clydesdale, you know, they're buddies and whatever. Well, the puppy jumps in the horse trailer, and he gets going down the road and gets way out and gets out of the trailer and is making his way home too, and he caught in the rain, and the old boy's got ads and flyers up looking for his puppy in the Clydesdale. You know, don't want to go back in his stall and everything, and you see it, and at the very end, he's just up the hill from the ranch, and out comes this wolf, and the puppy's growling and barking, and pretty quick he's got 4 Clydesdales right behind him, and the wolf runs off.
Yeah. I heard about this ad and the production of the Budweiser ads. Now, first of all, let me say this. I don't care if you are an advocate of Budweiser, their beer, their products, or whatever. Doesn't make any difference. But I will say that they, Budweiser, have delivered some of the most classy, underline that word classy, ads in advertising over the last decade. They have delivered some of the most tear-jerking ads that are remembered far more than any other ads in the industry. And this ad will get to you, I guarantee you.
Well, it was pretty hard for this fat kid to see that and not not get a lump in his throat. So.
Well, and one of the ads that they had done and produced for Budweiser was, and again I'm going to paraphrase because I'm short of time, was the man that raised the one Clydesdale colt, and then the colt was taken away and went into the Budweiser hitch, and they didn't see each other for a long time, and the man went to a parade, and there was the Budweiser hitch, and the colt recognized him. You know the ad I'm talking about. And you talk about tears streaming down a fat boy's face. It was me.
Yeah.
All right, sir. God bless you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that Budweiser ad is, and there's been so many. There's been so many that have been cute. They have had many ads that have been funny. And then they've had ads that have been a great tribute to our veterans and our country. And I salute them for that. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends with your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, they just go to work in the morning with a smile on their face, and they go home at night with a smile on their face. And they are jogging and running and working hard all day long to make sure that you're taken care of for safe driving. Absolutely. Whether you need brand new tires, they're at a high lope. Whether you need new battery, they're at a high lope. When you go in there and need brake service or front end alignment, or shocks and struts, they're at a high lope to serve you, I'll guarantee you. They're very conscientious. Safe driving is the key, and they've got all the safe driving tires for you and your vehicles. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy, the old Seahawk fan, to whom I owe probably 75 dinners. He beat me again. And you stop in and see him on Overland and Burley. All great. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay, let's see what else have we got cooking. Next hour, we're going to have a dear friend on the program, and that's Doug Johnson from Colorado. Always look forward to having Doug on the phone. And then at 9:30, we've got with the Institute of Energy Research, Dan Simmons. We're going to be talking about the way the Obama administration is trying to lock up Alaska. This is really critical, and I'm going to be trying to get a hold of some legislators up in Alaska and have them come on my program and talk about this. Alaska is being locked up for wilderness by Obama, and it's going to virtually put so many people out of work that are connected to the gas and oil business, and it's really petrifying to the state of Alaska, and we're going to try to get some people on about that. And then at 10:06 this morning, I'm going to have a senior exam. My good buddy back in New Jersey, my old college roommate, as a matter of fact, football player for the University of Minnesota, Joe Palermo, sent me some questions that are, I think, interesting to say the least. And then at 10:30, one of the more interesting friends that I've had on the air ever, Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana. Don't miss it. A lot coming. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in 6. I'm just messing with you. I'm here. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much. And along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, locally owned and operated. Again, locally owned and operated, and serving you, always at your disposal. And they cover all the Magic Valley. You're safe. You're protected. They're here. That's right. All you have to do to call to get on the route service and get rid of your garbage is call 734-6969. That's right, 734-6969. And I guarantee you they are good. And oh, by the way, I'm going to start a cleanup program program here pretty quick out in my garage and get rid of a bunch of stuff and all my boxes and everything up in the attic. I got to get rid of all this stuff. Yep, get a dumpster. They've got them in various sizes. Call them Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Before we get my buddy on the phone, we're going to be right with you. Stand by. I want to also remind you about a dear, dear friend, and that's Joel Heward, the manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to remember and write down where you can find it, 436-5636. When there's the passing of a loved one, and the passing of that dear loved one, you just are thrown into a turmoil. Absolutely. Well, always think of Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward, always treating everyone with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They are there to serve you. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, number 436-5636. Wow, it's been a long time since I talked to him. Last Wednesday, I wasn't on the air because I was in Salt Lake City, and here I am. Doug Johnson, good morning to you.
Well, Zeb, it's good to hear your voice. How you doing?
I'm great. How's everything with you?
Oh, it's fine. It's good.
All right.
I've been concerned about you, but I think you're doing well from what I hear.
Oh, well,
I'm good with that.
You, of course, have been dealing and talking to my lovely bride, and thank you very much for your kind thoughts. I appreciate that. I want to ask you a couple of questions, first of all, this morning. Your last blog about Obama doesn't think like you think he thinks. That's kind of a play on the word think, but you know something? This man is not to be considered stupid. This man is not to be considered backward in any shape or form. He said long ago and warned us that he was fundamentally going to change the United States, and day by day, in the last 700 plus days that he's got left in office, he's scaring me.
Well, he should. He should scare all of us, Zeb. And, one of the reasons I wrote this piece is it just occurs to me, I'm on a lot of radio shows. I listen to shows. I read things and stuff. And I'm sure you see this in guests you have, callers you get. But what is consistently happening among conservatives, which is the vast majority of Americans, because most Americans are conservative whether they realize it or not, is that we keep talking about what should have been done or how something should be handled when none of that matters whatsoever, not one single bit. And you can pick your issue out of the headlines today, I don't care, and I can probably come up with an example for you. But it does not matter for us to be talking about those things, because until we deal with the core problem in the Democrat Party, in our government that controls our government, and understand how they think and how they act and what they're doing and address that, we're just dealing with symptoms, and it's like putting a Band-Aid on a bone fracture. It doesn't work. We need to get into the details of what we're facing and really fight this. And we are in great danger because people aren't understanding what we're up against, number one, and number two, how to address it. And so I think it's been kind of growing on my heart for some time, and it just kind of gelled with the phrase that was the title, Obama doesn't think like you think he thinks.
Well,
because people keep talking about, and we make him the fall guy, and it's not just him. I got to say that. Because the Democrat Party is fully controlled by these people. He is just the talking face. He is the figurehead at this point, but it's not him. It goes much deeper than him, and we need to realize that too.
I'm not going to argue or get into a discussion adverse to what you just said. I agree with everything you said, but there were some words in your phraseology that I'd like to point out. You said we need to deal with the core problem, and therein lies the question with no answer, because how do we do it? We are not perceived to be important. People don't take the time to really exercise their rights as American. I just think that right now they, the government, and they, the insidious people that are trying to take over and control the world, know that we won't deal with the core problem, and they feel like they've got a freeway to do whatever they want to do.
Well, they do have, because we've given it to them.
Yep.
And that's the unfortunate thing. We are not taking action. And when I say we have to remember that I'm including all Americans, because the people who listen to shows like yours and hopefully that read things like I write are interested in making change. But even in that case, we're still not doing anything. We're only talking about symptoms. We're not talking about the problem. The problem is an ideology, so we need to educate people. We need to educate our children. We need to educate adults, because most people don't understand what we're up against. They don't understand it. As I go into in this blog post, Obama is a Marxist. It's that simple. He is a Marxist. There's no way around that. And the Democrats are Marxists. The party has been stolen by the Marxists. In fact, I quote near the end of the blog post the chairman of the Communist Party USA, who has said in the past that we shouldn't be too critical of Obama because he's a friend, and they support the Democrat Party. They use the Democrat Party, but the left does a lot of things better than we do. So there's a couple things we need to understand, and the biggest one of these, and this is really hard for me, Zeb, because I'm really, really fed up with the Republican Party, and as you know, I left them in 1999 when they refused to throw Bill Clinton out of office because the Senate Republicans circled the wagons and joined the Democrats to protect Bill Clinton instead of holding him accountable for the laws he broke and that cost him the use of his law license. But that said, what the Democrats see, and especially the progressives, the communists see, is that they are just like the Tea Party conservatives in the Republican Party. They don't really want to be part of the Democrat Party because they see it too beholden to business financial interests. But they see it as a vehicle. So they see that they've got to stay involved because that's where they get the power for now until their movement grows big enough. So they use the Democrat Party since they have control of it. The Tea Party does not have control. The conservatives do not have control of the Republican Party, although we could have if we worked hard at it. And the problem is we are splintered. We are so frustrated, we're fed up, so people won't support the Republicans anymore, and I don't totally disagree with that, because when a John Boehner and a Mitch McConnell and people like that are leading, it's very frustrating. But the Democrats are smart enough to do, well, let me put it in the simplest way, and I've mentioned this before, what they did in Colorado. They came together about 10 years ago, and they said, we're going to agree to disagree on a bunch of stuff in return for gaining power. And once we have power, then we can settle our differences. The Republicans or the conservatives in this country won't do that because we're too pure, I guess. And so people get upset and they leave the party. They follow a libertarian candidate or they follow a conservative candidate. And so now we're under the threat of other parties coming up. And if the Republican Party splits, they will never, ever have a chance to take control again, because you can't have more than two parties and have a majority and succeed. So the first thing we have to do is become unified and agree that we're going to disagree on some stuff, but look for the overall large goal. And this comes through education. And I got to tell you, Zeb, some of the most obstinate, stubborn people I've ever met are conservatives, of which I'm one. And by saying I'm one is that I'm saying I'm stubborn. But we have to come to the point where we say we have to achieve the bigger goal. We have to get control before we resolve some of these differences, because if we don't have any chance to save this country.
I agree in that last little soapbox that you gave us. Totally. I think that was very well stated. But I also agree in my own little way that in the last 72 hours, maybe even longer than that, going into last weekend, there were some bright spots in the Republican Party as far as some chinks in the armor against Bush, against Romney, and against the old guard, because in San Diego in that summit for the Republican Party, I saw and heard voices that I predicted over 2 weeks ago with you on this program, that I told you I thought Governor Scott Walker would emerge as the most respected Republican from that summit by even Democrats, and it was proven to be that way. Democrats like John LeBoutelier and others have stepped up and said, wow, this guy's got answers to a lot of the problems.
Well, and I hate to correct people on the air. John LeBoutelier is actually a moderate Republican. He claims to be conservative.
No, wait a minute. He is on a program. Wait a minute, Doug. He is on a Fox News program.
I'm on a program with him every week.
I'm not arguing with you. He is a Republican. He's on a Democratic show that is two other Democrats, Pat Liddell.
It's an internet show. He calls it Fox News Channel. It's not. It's on the internet. That Fox, a website they own.
Absolutely.
Every week.
And And he is the only conservative voice on that panel with Doug Schoen and also Pat Goodell. But what I wanted to make the point is, Doug, that Goodell and also Schoen, they nodded their heads in total agreement with LeBoutelier, who's been on my program just recently, and they said, boy, Walker really opened up some schools of thought so that he had answers to problems.
Yeah, and I think Walker, as I said when I talked to you about it a couple weeks ago, really is good. I didn't see anything from the summit in San Diego you talk about. I saw some stuff from the South Carolina one and the Iowa one, and I don't think he was in South Carolina. I know he was in Iowa, and he did impress a lot of people. I think there are some positive things happening there, but I think the negative side is we see an even stronger push by the establishment, and I think you'll continue to see it to attack and destroy the conservatives because they're determined to make sure that our choices will be people like Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and Mitt Romney, and those will be deadly for our country.
That, again, I have to agree with you on, and I'm seeing some internal power plays. We're seeing, of course, the network media feed like sharks in the water, and the media is pushing, I'll call them McCainisms. They're trying to get back to the gray-haired old philosophy of the Republican Party like John McCain and keep it with the Bush, keep it with the Romneys, keep it with the old guard. And boy, now more than ever before, we need the people like Scott Walker to really step up. And I honestly think in open debates, if Scott Walker were the nominee, let's just say if, in a debate against Hillary, he could absolutely destroy her.
He probably could. And if he can turn on the personality like he did in what I saw in Iowa, that'd be great, because one of the things he's known for is being very mundane, and people don't want a mundane candidate. They want somebody who's got personality and charisma, and if he can continue to show that, that'll be a great positive. Now, I will also say that I think there are some other people we should be watching, and not necessarily because they'd be the candidate of choice, but they could have great impact in what's going to happen in this election process, and also potentially be good cabinet members. And some of them may throw their hat in the ring, some may not. But a good example was in Iowa, and you could tell by the audience, like most Americans, didn't get it. But Carly Fiorina gave a speech that was excellent, and she spoke more intelligently about leadership than anybody I've heard in the Republican Party in years, because she understands leadership, and the audience just kind of gave her moderate, polite applause, but the fact was she was dead on in what she said. And I think she could have, a person like her could have great benefit to an administration handling various things.
I agree.
There's a lot to be said there, too, and we need to be looking and get our candidates to understand that the answer in your cabinets is not a bunch of politicians. Start to get business people involved who know how to solve these problems.
I agree with you. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yeah, good morning. I agree that I think Scott Walker's refreshing what he's done for Wisconsin, and I think he's one of the most feared people by the liberal Marxist left. But, today I just want to make a comment on how consensus kills. Not only, the space shuttle blew up 29 years ago today. And consensus, I had a friend that worked for Morton Thiokol, and they advised them not to launch because of the cold weather and that there may be those seals may fail. But consensus, they were overvoted by the politicians or the bureaucrats at NASA, and consequently they went ahead and launched, and there was a failure, and of course who got blamed for it? Thiokol did. Mm-hmm. But they literally said do not launch, but they were outvoted by consensus. And the same thing, global warming, look at the New York forecast just yesterday and so forth. Consensus kills, and it killed those astronauts. But I appreciate, Doug, all the information you put out. I mean, I really appreciate your research and your viewpoint very much.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Doug, you want to respond?
Well, first I want to say thank you. It's always nice to get a compliment and have somebody appreciate what you do. And I guess it's a bittersweet memory, and not even sweet, but a bitter memory, but it's an important memory that he brings up. I was in Florida, living in Florida when that happened, and I remember walking out of my office right after the explosion and looking up in the sky, and seeing the vapor trail that is famous with the breaking off in different directions, and how devastating it was, and Florida, everybody in Florida was overwhelmed because the space program back then was a big thing down there, and that was a very sad situation. But I think he makes a really good point, and we have to look at that. The other thing is that as people pull out in front in these races, and it's still obviously very early, we will see a concerted effort on the part of the establishment Republican Party to destroy them. They've successfully done it before. The Democrats will join in, but the establishment will also. And that's what's going to be hard, is weathering the storm and getting through it. And so time will tell. Now, Scott Walker's proven himself to be a good fighter and successful. My biggest question about any conservative who rises to the top, Zeb, is will they be able to raise $1 billion? Because it's going to take $1 billion for a candidate to win, which means every American is going to need to dig in their pocket and give something to help them, because the big money is going to be behind the establishment candidate. Rupert Murdoch, the owner of News Corp, or the primary stockholder, he and the Saudis really control it. He is throwing his support behind Jeb Bush vehemently. He does not believe the conservative candidates, any of them. He likes some of them, but he says none of them could win. They're not practical, and Jeb Bush is the man for the job. And so, and he wants to have big influence in this election. And being that he is controlling interest in News Corp, plus the Saudis have influence because they're the ones who caused Fox News by one phone call. Their Saudi prince who owns stock in Fox made one phone call and caused Fox to apologize for things they had said about no-go zones in Europe after the Paris attacks with the Muslim communities. They want to have a huge influence. They've made it public now in this upcoming election. And they are positioning Fox, they have been for the last couple of years, to be very establishment-minded. That's why they always have people like Karl Rove on. And so I think we need to be careful and need to be educating people around us, the rest of the information, on what people like Scott Walker have to offer, because I think he's going to have an uphill battle.
Maybe so, but I will say this, and I've maintained this for at least the last 3 elections, that governors versus senators, when they decide to throw their hat into the presidential ring for a possible nomination, I will lean towards a governor any time and every time because of their experience in managing the big show, whether it's a state or whatever. They've had the experience, and look at what Walker did back in Wisconsin. He had to fight a recall. He had to take a state on that was so deep in the red they never thought they'd see black ink again. He's turned everything around, and that's why my premise is I think senators like Barack Obama, whose only pre-job was being a community organizer, look at the difference in education and ability between a governor and a senator.
Well, there's no doubt about that. They have experience running something very large, and so they generally would be the preferred choice, although we've seen time and again when they failed in campaigns. Look at Mitt Romney, look at Mike Huckabee, look at people like this. But Scott Walker has a track record to run with that I think is very positive, and I just go back to, can he get the funding, the financial support he's going to need, because it's going to be devastating what he's going to be up against. And so I think that's the biggest issue he's going to face, short of stumbling somewhere. I mean, another one, and I'm not saying he's the choice, but another governor who has a track record to walk on to run on that nobody can touch is Rick Perry.
That's right.
I don't agree with everything about Rick Perry, but nobody has done for this country for jobs and for the economy what Texas has, and that's a huge thing for him to run on. Now, it would be interesting to maybe see a Walker Perry ticket, but I agree with you. I think governors are a great choice, and I think other consideration, although there's nobody out there right now doing it, would be successful business people. When Donald Trump, who I don't agree with on a whole bunch of stuff, but when he gets out there and says, he knows how to make deals, and he knows how to get in people's faces, and he knows how to walk away a winner, and his personal successes have made him 25 times as rich as Mitt Romney. This is the kind of mindset we need to get involved in the new administration, whoever that will be. And so I think if you get a governor who knows how the politics works and knows how to make government work, and you get some business people in their cabinet, I think they could have a very powerful effect on turning this country around.
One quick thing, though, and we failed to mention another name. I did and you did, and I think you'll agree with me on this. There's another governor out there that, a lot of people aren't talking about, but oh boy, is he an organizer. Oh boy, did he straighten up the state of Ohio, and that's Governor John Kasich.
I used to like John Kasich, but since he supports Common Core and he's done some things economically that are very much not conservative. In his embracing of the things about Obamacare and things like that, I have backed away from him. So I'm not as thrilled with him as I used to be.
Okay, but he is, and you have to look at his track record, he took the state of Ohio and turned it completely around to the positive.
He did, but I think he would get more fight from conservatives, fighting his candidacy. I think Scott Walker will get tremendous support from the conservative movement because of what he's done, and especially the direct battles that he's had to fight in court, in addition to just turning around the state.
Doug, I got to interrupt you right there because I want to ask another question. We've only got 2 minutes left, and I want your opinion on this. We've talked all the Republicans, but there's one thing we didn't talk about this morning, and that's why the media and the American people in general are anointing the Queen as the nominee, and that's Hillary Clinton. I think there's obviously got to be somebody better than her, and she has made so many faux pas that I think they're going to try to push somebody else against her.
Oh, I think that, Obama has already sent some of his people to work with Elizabeth Warren. And there's a huge push in the progressive movement to get Elizabeth Warren in there. And she's just as dangerous as Hillary.
Absolutely.
Maybe more so.
Absolutely.
But the Clintons have a lot of power in the Democrat Party. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'll be curious to see how this plays out. They're being very careful at this point because they thought she was anointed in 2007, and yet she did not get the nomination for the 2008 campaign. So it'll be interesting to watch. The other thing I'll throw in real quick, it's a totally separate topic, but I hope you get into it for your audience, is the story about how Obama has sent, I believe now it's either 13 or 17 of his advisors that are not technically in the administration are now over in Israel working hard behind the scenes to help unseat Benjamin Netanyahu. And that's obviously an important story too. But anyway, your point about Hillary is well taken, I think.
All right. Hey, I wish we had more time today, but I've got another segment coming up, and I always look forward to Wednesdays to getting you on the program. Dear friend back in Colorado, Doug Johnson, thank you, Doug, for your time. I do. Of course, your check is in the mail.
Okay.
God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thanks, you too.
Doug Johnson, author and noted blogger, Horse Sense blog, does a great job, and I appreciate him being on our program every Wednesday at 9:06. Okay, hey, let's ride. Vroom, vroom! Get your snowmobile started. How about a brand new Skidoo snowmobile? Head for the hills and ride up in all the angel dandruff. Oh my goodness. And then too, here's something I got to keep reminding you, because you're going to be like me and wait till the last minute to get your four-wheelers serviced and ready for this next year. And then all of a sudden you're going to say, doggone it, I want to go riding and I'm not ready. Well, get your four-wheelers serviced now. They've got an absolutely fantastic service department over there, headed up by Brad and the rest of the crew. And they also have all the accessories. So all you have to do is stop over to Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and Burley, where the fun is sold. They have got something for everyone. Also, too, on Highway 24 over in Rupert, I want to have you be sure and think about and check out your life insurance needs, health insurance needs, retirement planning needs, employee benefit needs, all of this and much, much more with the professionals, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, Dean and Todd. Make an appointment, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, serving you. Let us go to the phone lines right now, and with us on the phone, Dan Simmons with the Institute for Energy Research. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good, Zeb. How are you?
Dan, I got to tell you, I don't even know where to start this conversation because it's like all points of the compass. There's so much to discuss in a short period of time. I was very wary when the oil started to plummet downward and the prices started to go in our favor, because whatever goes down is going to come bouncing back like a Spalding basketball, and that's what these people are planning on. I was worried about the environmentalists having power with Obama to send oil prices back up, maybe even higher. I'm worried about the environmentalists and Obama putting a huge gas tax on petroleum products. I'm worried about the closures up in Alaska. Our energy program is not going to benefit us with these low prices. Am I wrong or right?
No, you're right. The current energy prices are giving Americans an incredible gift.
Yep.
Every week, Americans save $2.4 billion on lower gas prices because of, this year compared to last year. This week, this year compared to this week last year. Because of how much, that is an incredible stimulus, $2.4 billion. However, instead of trying to build on that, instead of trying to say, hey, this is a good thing, the administration is turning their back on it. They're doing what they've always have done, and they're looking for ways to reduce domestic production and reduce Canadian production, which, for all intents and purposes, is just as good as, domestic production. And, they're looking at turning their backs on what is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Okay, now, Dan, nobody knows more about what's going on in the world of energy, or the lack of, than you, because of what your position is and where you sit at your desk every day at the IER. This man and his administration being in bed with the environmentalists, and I think the next 700 days are going to be critical to our freedoms and our Constitution. What he's doing to Alaska, possibly, and to the employment in Alaska, and the future of our state of Alaska, I think right now are absolutely criminal. Your thoughts on what he's trying to shut up in Alaska?
Zeb, I was really ticked off on Saturday. That's when the news came out that what the president wanted to do was to, in ANWR, which is the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, he wants to designate an additional 12 million acres of wilderness. Now, in the refuge is about it's about 20 million acres. Okay. And what he wants is the entire thing to be wilderness. Now, as you guys know, in Idaho, wilderness is great, but you can't do stuff in wilderness. And all you need, there's more than 10 billion barrels of oil up there under the ground. All you need is 2,000 acres to access it. But what he wants to do is designate an additional 12 million acres of wilderness, all to shut that off and to make sure that that's not possible. To to just put in perspective how huge this place is and how huge of wilderness area it is, 20 million acres would be, a strip of land 75 miles wide that runs from Twin Falls up to almost Kalispell, Montana.
Oh my!
It is a massive strip. That's a massive area of land, and the only reason the administration is doing it is to shut off any possibility of accessing the incredible oil reserves up there.
Let me ask you this, Dan. I've talked to some people from that area, and they said that it's going to be absolutely economic disaster. They told me that, and it goes along in accordance with the story that I'd read, 1/3 of Alaskan jobs are oil-related, and oil industry accounts for 85% of the state revenues. What is this going to do to the economy?
Well, you know what? Alaska oil production has been falling. The Prudhoe Bay, which is where the vast majority of oil production has been occurring in Alaska, is on state land. That's why there's actual production, is because it's not on federal land; it's on state land, and it has been falling since the early 80s at least. It's great that it came online and produced so much oil. The state of Alaska has a trust fund that comes from the oil, but when oil is the prices have fallen and production have fallen, the state's really taken it on the chin. And the point is, look, Alaska is an incredibly beautiful place. There's no doubt about that. But as we know, you can have beauty, you can have wilderness, you can have like these spectacular open areas, and you can have a little bit of oil production. You can have a little bit of natural gas production. You can easily do both in ways that are completely compatible.
You know,
but the administration doesn't want that, and they want to shut down all possibility for the future. You know, also between Alaska and Russia is the Chukchi Sea, and there's also to the north of Alaska there's the Beaufort Sea.
Right.
There's billions of barrels of oil out there as well. In the on the Russian side, Exxon and Russia have done some exploration, and they found a find that they say could rival the Gulf of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same geology in the Chukchi Sea on the American side. And, you know, instead of allowing people to be able to access that, the Obama administration says, hey, it's open. However, Shell oil company has spent more than $5 billion, and the federal government has not allowed them to drill for oil yet. $5 billion, and they haven't been able to do a single, they haven't been able to actually drill for oil. It's absolutely criminal what's happening, and, you know, it's all this anti-oil ideology that they have.
Let me ask you this, Dan, and I'm not sure how to phrase that, but I had read someplace that the pipeline up in Alaska is, I think it's like 800 miles long, and if it shuts down due to a lack of oil or no oil, is it true that by law those pipelines have to be taken apart and dismantled?
Yes. And that's exactly the problem, and that's what the plan is. That is what the environmentalists are trying to do. That's what the Obama administration is trying to do. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline, runs from the Arctic Ocean all the way down to the south of Alaska, where oil can then be put on tankers and taken down to the west coast of the United States. It used to be that the west coast of the United States processed the most domestic oil of any part of the U.S., but now they're processing more foreign oil. That's where a lot of actually Middle Eastern oil goes to, is to the West Coast refineries.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of trying to get, and it is 800 miles long, as you mentioned, instead of trying to get more oil, we have environmentalists, we have the Obama administration that is trying to cut off oil for exactly what you said. Because if they are not running oil through the pipeline, by law, they are required to take it down. And to replace this pipeline, to build it today would be, let's just say it's impossible. But if you could, it would still be tens of billions of dollars. I heard a price maybe as high as $40 billion for this pipeline. It is incredibly expensive to replace. And so, you know what? If you were able to produce oil off in the Chukchi Sea and the Beaufort, in the oil from Anwar, they would come down this pipeline. We're talking about a stable domestic source of oil for decades. This is a 2 million barrel a day pipeline. That's more than 3 times the size of the Keystone XL pipeline, and that's exactly why they want to shut it down. Because what it means is low oil prices, stable oil prices, and that is exactly what these people do not want. And it's exactly what the Obama administration does not want.
You already mentioned the benefits to the economy, and I mean, if you want to have a kumbaya session, you can see people dancing around gas pumps all over America because they've got more spendable income. They can go buy shoes for Johnny and Susie. They can stop at a Baskin Robbins and have an ice cream sundae for not the fear of going broke. They can do other things, and it's all been inflating our economy. And I believe all of this is going to come to a screeching halt, and possibly our economy will end up worse than it was prior to these lower prices. Do you agree or disagree?
I mean, it's a real challenge. I mean, these lower prices are just, are absolutely fantastic for the exact reason that you pointed out. When people pull up with their kids in the car and they're saving, $10, $20, $30, $40 on one single tank of gas. That extra money, that extra money is going somewhere.
Yes.
That's money to help pay down debt. That's money to help take care of their kids. That's money for shoes. It's money for, being able to go eat at a restaurant, being afford to be able to eat at a restaurant with your kids. It makes the economy so much better. But, the problem is that only lasts for as long as we have low oil prices. And, given the current state of the world, that, oil prices won't necessarily remain low. However, we definitely could take some steps, such as opening these new areas that would signal to the world market, hey, this is how it's going to be in the future. And as a result, the Saudis, I think, would continue to do as they have done, and pump oil. As a result, we have $50 a barrel oil instead of $150 a barrel.
Yeah,
it's absolutely insane that these people, instead of trying to build on that, are trying to shut it down.
Let me ask you this, and again, I really value your knowledge on these subjects, but can you list the pros and possibly even some of the cons of the Keystone Pipeline as to why Americans are torn? Do they want Keystone or don't they want Keystone? Can you give us kind of a T-graph, positive on one side and negative on the other about Keystone?
70% of the American people want Keystone. The positives are pretty simple. It means that we're getting a stable supply of oil from our best friends, our neighbors in Canada. It means that there's more stable oil supplies on the world market, which is critical because anytime the Middle East, any of that, stuff goes on, it means that it is less likely for oil prices to spike because we're not as reliant on oil from Libya or oil from Iraq or something like that. Those are two real pros.
Mm-hmm.
And another pro is that the pipeline would mean, it would mean more pipeline oil coming out of North Dakota. That means that oil won't have to be traded, won't have to be, taken on tanker cars. That's another thing is that we have, there'll be less oil that is transported by rail. Coming from Canada. As a result, we can have more other stuff that goes by rail, whether it's grain, whether it's corn, everything else that gets transported by rail, it frees that up because the prices of transportation by rail have been increasing just because so much gets sucked up to transport all this oil because they don't have enough pipeline capacity. And the only downside that I can think of is that it means more production of oil, which I don't think is a downside personally, but some people do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing that I can see as as any downside is that some people think that the production of oil is a bad thing, that access to energy is a bad thing, and therefore the Keystone XL is a bad thing.
Dan, I was on the phone the other day with a lady with the Americans for Prosperity, and we were talking about the gas tax. And right now, when Americans are starting to get their heels off the edge of the cliff financially and walk forward with some optimism, with more spending money like we just talked about, now Congress is looking at possibly a gas tax that could be $1 a gallon. Do you take that $1 a gallon in addition to what they're paying now and then have these prices escalate? $5 and $6 and $7 a gallon for gas is not out of the question.
No, and it's what they want. Like, that's the thing. Is like, the former Secretary of Energy, Stephen Chu, said we have to find some way to get gas prices to the levels that they are in Europe. I mean, these people, when they're not cautious in what they say, they sound very much like Jonathan Gruber, the MIT economist that said that the American people were essentially stupid, and that's why they had to be lied to about Obamacare. Well, you know what? It's the same sort of people that on these energy issues, they think that the rest of us are stupid for wanting low energy prices. Well, look, we're not. I mean, this is one of the simplest things in the world. We want low energy prices because it makes our lives better. You morons. So just go hang out in your ivory tower and and quit bothering us because you're making our lives worse. And you're making our lives much worse. And by trying to increase gas taxes, that's the point, is that we will have higher prices in the future. Within, the last 4 or 5 times that we've had a price drop, like we have with the price of oil, within 6 months, the price of oil had regained about 50%. So, in other words, within 6 months, we could see oil at $75 a barrel. That's not crazy. It's not the end of the world. I much prefer oil under $50 a barrel. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. And this administration could be taking steps to move towards that, but instead, they just want to put stuff off limits because they want to see higher oil prices like like they have in Europe, which is, $9 to $10 a gallon.
I've got just a few minutes left here, Dan, but I've got to have you comment on another problem. And the other problem is America, my friends, your friends, the whole population is not being vocal enough to let their voices be heard. We are led by the nose by big money people, whether it's Tom Steyer or whether it's George Soros or whatever. These people seem to be controlling us through their whims and their big, deep pockets, and it's going to get worse. What are your thoughts about these individuals?
Oh, my thought is exactly what yours are. People have to be, we have to stand up. We have to stand up for ourselves. We have to, we have to let our voices be heard, because people like Tom Steyer, people like George Soros, they have the ear of the Obama administration. They have the ear of President Obama, of John Podesta, who is one of the masterminds of these plans, because Steyer funds Steyer and Soros both fund Podesta's groups, we have to stand up. We have to everyone needs to hear our voice, that we want lower energy prices, and we know how to get it, and we've seen it happen. You know what? And the next step is to then make it happen into the future. The people that say that we cannot produce oil and natural gas, or use coal, for example, and do it in an environmentally sensitive manner, are stuck in the 50s or the 40s or the 30s. They're stuck honestly in another century. They might be stuck in the 1800s, because total pollution emissions have decreased 70% since 1970, even as we use more oil, more natural gas, and double the amount of coal that we use. We can do this stuff, but the problem is that these people, I really think, are against modernity. They're against humanity, and that's why they're against us. And so we have to tell people that this is the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. It's the thing that's best for us and for our children, and so that more and more of our politicians hear that, as opposed to, voting with us sometimes, but, not being our greatest champions.
Let me ask you this last question. Do you think that with people like Sarah Palin and others from the state of Alaska, and the general sentiment against Obama locking up that land, do you think there is enough potential that they can stop him, or is this basically a done deal?
Well, in one sense, it's a done deal, in that the president, there's Congress could pass a law, but he would veto it, and it would be very difficult to overcome that veto.
Yeah.
The biggest point is to make a gigantic stink about how horrible this is for the people of Alaska, for the Alaskan natives, who could be leading a much better life if not for President Obama. To make that case, because the problem is that he controls the executive, and the executive makes the decisions on federal lands, and because that ANWR is not open and it will require an act of Congress, that means that Obama has a bunch of authority, and we're not going to have drilling until Congress takes action.
Absolutely. I could talk to you a lot longer, but I've just run out of time, and I want to say thanks to Dan Simmons with the Institute of Energy Research. I mean this. Thank you so much, and please come back in the near future.
Sure thing, Zeb.
All right. God bless. Thank you so much. Very, very interesting man talking about energy and, boy, what's happening with Obama and locking up Alaska, and then all the billionaire environmentalists like Tom Steyer and George Soros, etc. We got some major problems. Major problems. I've got a major problem, too. I've got to get the weather forecast in here. And the weather this hour is brought to you by Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome, Suite B. Number to call, 324-2004, 324-2004. Minor emergencies, major care. They will see you today. Whether you've had a ear infection, or you've got a sprain, a strain, or a fracture, or injuries due to accidents, just get on over there or give them a call. They will see you today. Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome. Don't forget, 324-2004. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hi everyone, Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. Well, you got the rain, you got the fog, you got a mess. Okay, now like I told you before, 46 below in Fairbanks. It ain't that bad in the Magic Valley. So that being said, what's your weather for today? Well, it's Wednesday. And you're looking for maybe a slight chance of raining, even though it is raining. That fog is going to still hang around, and it's going to slowly but surely skedaddle out of there. 46 for the high wind is going to be out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. That's going to take the fog out. Fog tomorrow, but still the temperatures are pretty good as far as it being in the 40s all the way through the weekend. The best chance for a lot of sun, very little clouds, is looking like Friday carrying you all the way over until Sunday night. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. So what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Brought to you by Urgent Care of Jerome. These are people that really care about your health and helping you in a time of need. Minor emergency, major care. They will see you today. Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, in Jerome, Suite B, in Jerome, 324-2004. Urgent Care of Jerome. Oh, give me a call. We got time for a couple of phone calls. And the number, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I also want to remind you about Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Write this number down. If you're suffering from some hearing loss, call her at 312-0957. 312-0957. And I didn't know this, but hearing loss is the third most common health condition, just behind arthritis and heart disease. So please, about 20% of adults in the United States report some degree of hearing loss, and that's not good. So you be sure and give her a call today. Mount Harrison Audiology at 312-0957. Oh, give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Gina, are you right there by the phone?
You need the microphone or the telephone?
Or are we going to get picky now?
Yes, we're going to get technical.
The microphone.
Yes,
are you getting on your home phone or your cell phone these calls that absolutely are time wasters? Hi, I'm so-and-so representing this, that, and the other, and we'd like to talk to you about a contribution with so-and-so, etc. Are you getting those?
Yeah, and I immediately hang up.
I don't even give them the time of day.
And then I block their number.
And now my son has been away from our home for almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. Okay? So last night I didn't get one, but I got two calls. Hello, is Jake Bell there? What in the world? Where do these people get these lists?
They're old.
Uh-huh.
And probably they're just phishing.
And my other complaint is, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, it seems like more and more businesses, regardless of the size, are going with the automated answering machines.
Oh, I hate those.
And the other day, I called a company. They had made a mistake on a billing, okay? I called and I used the number that was given to me to go directly to the billing department. 20 minutes later,
oh my gosh,
I was still asked to punch buttons and stay on hold.
See, I had no patience for that.
Well, what are you going to do?
I know that you don't either. I already know that.
Let's just say that if you are a young student that wants to be involved in theology, you would have learned words that you would not find in the Bible.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How did your phone survive? Because I know you were punching the numbers pretty darn hard. So did your phone survive?
It did, but it's really interesting because you just touched on it. Deanna and I had just bought some new phones for my office. And after having to sit there, punch 19 or hit 23 or, this kind of garbage. And I finally started hitting it so hard, Deanna said, easy, big boy, easy. We just bought those phones. And then to make matters worse, A live person came on the air finally, and they said, "Would you hold for just a moment?"
And you said, "No, I've been on hold for 23 moments."
I can't believe this, and I'm sick and tired of having to punch the buttons that if you speak English, press 1 and all this kind of stuff. I don't know about the rest of you folks, but it would behoove a business that would really look first class if all of a sudden you had somebody on the other end of the line say, "Good morning, may I help you?"
Yes. I mean, talking to a live person, you know, it is like a godsend because nowadays, just like you said, everything is automated and you get this computer voice and please press 1. And, I'm sorry, I like to talk to somebody who speaks English and that I can understand, so please, you know, employ somebody to answer your phone.
Yeah, and then you'll have this automated voice at some of these businesses. Please, in a few sentences, state what your interests are, you know, with what you want and all that. I don't want to give my interest to a computer machine or a tape type program. I want to talk to a live person.
I know. With my cell phone company, if I have a question or something, it's a female voice, but it's a computer prompt. So let me ask you this: what is the reason for that you're calling for?
Oh
today?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Technical problem?
Oh.
You have a billing issue? Please say yes. Please say, and it's like no, yes. I don't care. Just give me somebody live. You know,
and don't you feel like you want to become a serial killer after one of those calls?
Sometimes, yes.
Oh, boy.
I really do.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's my complaint for this morning. We are going to take a couple of minutes off, cool down, and then come back. And in the next half hour, we're going to lighten it up a little bit. I am going to give Gina a senior quiz and see if she can answer the questions so she can graduate from high school.
I was just going to ask, are we talking high school, or are we talking like senior 60?
You're not even close to being a senior citizen, so I meant like senior in high school. Let's pretend that you're back wearing the bobby socks and the shoes.
Okay.
And we're going to have that quiz, and that's coming up at 10:06. So I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, my. Here we are, last hour on a Wednesday. Good morning, I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much for a wonderful, wonderful job. Really good folks. And, of course, some of our great advertisers that include Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Locally owned and operated Western Waste Services. Before we get going here this half hour, I want to say a thank you to the Chadwick Sports Grill. Man, they've got some tantalizingly delicious specials every day. Listen to this: Wednesday shepherd's pie with veggies and super salad. I'll bet you that shepherd's pie is absolutely delicious. Yesterday, they had the one I wanted to get down to Burley for. That was that sausage pepper pasta. Sounded good. Well, today, shepherd pie with vegetables, super salad, along with all the other great menu choices at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. I was talking to Gina last hour, and she's probably perused the answers for this quiz. I hope not.
Well, I don't know exactly what quiz it is. So I can't really
Good, but I'm going to tell you that out of the 10 questions that my old buddy Joe Palermo back in New Jersey sent me, I only got one right.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is not boding well for me. Okay, so.
Okay, are you ready? It's a senior quiz.
Okay, high school senior quiz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it could be senior citizens quiz. It doesn't make any difference. It's going to mess up a lot of seniors.
Okay.
The first question I have for you, without a drum roll, is how long did the 100 Years' War last?
100 years.
No.
Really?
No. You're not even close.
Really? 95?
116.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then why don't they call it the 116-year war?
Don't ask questions back.
Okay.
Here's one that you can't possibly miss. Okay, you ready for this?
Ready.
Which country makes keyword Panama hats?
Panama.
Ecuador.
Really?
Yes.
Dang it.
I am not kidding you.
Okay.
Hey, so far you're doing like I did.
Yeah.
Now here's one that I know Gina is going to get correct. This is a gimme.
Okay.
From which animal do we get catgut? I love this.
I'm going to venture out on a limb here, and I'm going to say cat.
Au contraire, my lovely lady. It's sheep and horses.
Then why do they call it cat? Okay, never
Remember,
mind.
do not phrase the questions back to the interviewer, because I don't have a clue. Here's one that's obvious. In which month do Russians celebrate the October Revolution?
Okay, so...
Take a stab at it, babe!
October.
No, November. I love this. Okay, now, we all know what a camel's hair brush is made of, right?
Right, camel hair.
No. It's not.
Boar hair. Boar hair?
Squirrel fur.
Then what? Never mind.
Your mic went off.
Oh, sorry, because I was messing with it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, now you realize that you only have 5 opportunities of the 10-question quiz to at least show... Pardon me?
To redeem myself and at least get a D?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
And remember, I only had one right. So if you get one right, you can tie me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Number 6. The Canary Islands in the Pacific are named after what animal?
A bird.
Dogs. It's frustrating. It really is. I took this quiz, and after it was all done, I sat there and I thought, "Yo, dummy!"
The answers are so excruciatingly obvious.
Okay, now here's one that I thought I had nailed, so I could get 2 on this test correctly.
Okay.
And oh boy, was I like a baby bird and made a mess in my nest. What was King George the Fourth's, or the 6th? Yeah, the 6th first name. What are you stalling for?
I'm going to say Charles.
No, it was Albert. I love this. It really was. Okay, now you know what a purple finch is.
It's a bird.
Yeah, but what color really is a purple finch?
Blue.
No, crimson.
See, I'm just guessing now.
Okay, but now I want to remind you, you have only 2 opportunities to tie me.
Yep, yes, okay.
All right, here we go. This is a good one. Where?
Mind you, I'm not Googling any of this stuff either.
Well, I can tell you're not cheating.
No, I'm not cheating.
Okay, where are Chinese gooseberries from? No, come.
China?
Well, I said that too. New Zealand.
Never mind.
Now here is the last question.
Okay.
All
I
right.
better get this one right.
Man, I'll tell you.
That this is the one that you got right?
You're right. This is the one I got right.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll tell you why after you answer it, okay? Okay. What is the color of the black box in a commercial airplane?
Well...
Yeah, go ahead. You're on a roll, babe.
I know. Well, I'm going to venture out on a limb and say black, but sometimes aren't they white or red?
No, they're orange. Now, here's how I knew...
I got a big old fat 0.
I know, but I don't want to brag, but I got one right. Nah.
At least you got 10%.
Here's why I knew what the color of the black box was.
Because you've been watching the news?
Yeah, with those Southeast Asia planes that had gone down. There was a commentator on CNN that had made the comment that they're looking for the black box that really isn't a black box. He said they are orange. So when I took this test, bingo, my mind reverted to that newscast, and I knew the answer to this so that I didn't hit 0 like somebody else I know.
Well, hey, you know what? I just kind of Googled, why is the black box in an airplane orange?
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for the answer.
You got to tell me the answer, because I know it's orange, but I don't know why.
Because orange is easier to spot.
Oh.
You're looking for it after a crash.
Yeah, but you could be down 4 miles in the ocean.
Why don't they call it the orange box then instead of the black box?
I'm with you.
Why are Chinese gooseberries not coming from China?
I'm with you.
You know, I mean, why is the Canary Islands named after a dog?
Yeah.
A bird.
And if the Ruskies are going to have a revolution in October, why not just say it instead of November?
Yeah, have in November.
Why don't they give the answers to these things?
I know. I mean, what, do they think I'm a mind reader? I feel like a total failure.
Believe me, Gina, after you flunking this test, there's no way they're going to insinuate that you're a mind reader.
I know, right? I know. And here's the bad thing. I didn't even tie you.
Well, yeah, but I had kind of cheated when I knew the answer to that black box because of that.
Because you were actually paying attention to the news.
Yeah, I was.
Huh.
Do we have a call?
Yeah, we've got Doug on the phone.
Oh, Doug who? Don't tell me it's Manning.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Good morning. You're on the air.
The other Doug.
The other Doug. Okay.
Yeah, on the black box, the reason they call it a black box is it contains the information like your black book, your little black book.
But it still needs to be called the orange box.
Well, yeah, why don't they call it the orange box?
Well, it's orange because it's easy, like Gina said, it's easy to spot. It's easier to find.
Well, then call it the orange box. What are we looking for, Herbert? We're looking for an orange box.
Well, who carries around a little orange book with them?
Quite frankly, I do.
You guys have a good day.
All right, take care.
I only got one right, too.
All right, which one?
The black box.
Okay, all right. Okay, Doug, thank you. If that would have been Manning, he would have probably said, well, I knew the answers to all of them.
Oh, he would have, too. Al wanted me to ask you the question, is a zebra black with white stripes or white with black stripes?
You know, that is a concern for a lot of college students. They sit there as they smoke their marijuana cigarettes out on the lawn in the center of the campus, and they go from questions like Bill Cosby asked, why is there air? And also to questions like, is a zebra white with black spots or vice versa? That's what a lot of these marijuana kids are asking.
Well, you know, it's the rhetorical questions that have no answers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I was embarrassed. I didn't know the answers to those.
I'm kind of embarrassed, too, because, you know, here I am doubly college educated, and I didn't even know any of this stuff.
But, you know, are you good at taking tests? Would you rather take a verbal test, or would you rather take a written test?
I like taking written tests, actually, because then I can sit there and ponder the question and think about it, and then I can, you know, jump around on the test and do the answers that I know first. And
but when you were finishing for your degree, did you take a test in a classroom or in a private setting or even on the computer?
For my undergraduate, a lot of times it was in the classroom. I think only once did we do it over the computer. Well, there was a couple classes where we did it over the computer, but it was always in a classroom setting. For my master's degree, I really didn't take tests. We had to write long essays. And then, of course, for me to graduate, I had to do my thesis dissertation.
Yeah. Here is what bugged me all the way through high school and all the way through college. Mm-hmm. If the class was given a test and we were all sitting there at our desks, you know, and the teacher gets up there and says, I'm going to be watching you, and if I see your eyes center on another student's paper, I will come over and give you an F and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. I was really good at taking paper tests in the classroom, but if 1, 2, 3, or more students went up to turn their papers in, I developed a phobia. I got really afraid that I was way behind and everybody else was done, everybody else knew the answers, and then I started making really some silly, stupid mistakes.
See, you know, that really never bothered me. I didn't mind taking my time for a test, and it really didn't bother me if I was the last one to turn in the test, because I figured, you know, for the students that actually were the first ones to turn it in. I'm thinking to myself, boy, howdy, they rushed through it. Did they get all of the questions right? And so that was always my philosophy. So being the last one never bothered me a bit.
Oh, it did me. I can remember vividly a test I took in college, and the teacher only gave so much time for this test. I think it was like 25 minutes. And I'm down to like 5 minutes left, and I look around, and this is a true story. There is one other student out of 30 in the class sitting with me, and I got nervous. I got scared, and I still had a whole bunch of questions to go, and I blew that test so bad because I let my nerves take over and rattle me when the other student that was left with me got up and turned in the paper, and I'm there all by myself with the professor, and I thought, I'm going to cry. I want to take this over again. And I blew it.
There was one test that I absolutely blew, and it was a 4-question final for my statistics class at the University of Idaho with Professor Lee, which, by the way, I flunked.
Oh, boy.
That test. Yeah, 4-question final. Each question worth 25% of your grade.
And you had to write how much? I mean,
it was a 4-question final, but it was like 4 pages long.
Oh,
it was statistics. It was math.
Wow.
So I got, I think, like a 54%. Going into the final, I had an A in the class. By the time I was done with that final, me and my friend were both just bawling in tears. We knew he'd flunked the test. And so we just turned it in. Yeah, and I did flunk the test, and so I ended up getting a C overall.
Oh, that is crushing. That is really crushing.
The worst test I ever took, period, hands down.
Okay.
And we've got a phone call.
Okay, we'll take it quick. Good morning. This is your test center.
Morning, Zeb.
Hello there.
You are wrong about the one about the catgut, because I have seen it made. It is stripped out of the small intestine of bovine.
Out of what?
The small intestine of bovine.
Wait a minute. Now, I want to be really halfway polite when I say this. Number one, you can say what you want, but don't say you are wrong when you ask the question. I didn't write up these doggone questions.
I said that test was wrong.
Okay. So it's made out. It can be made out of sheep and horses also.
It can be. What was the original condom made out of?
Sheepskin.
Sheepskin, cecum.
Yeah. And I just, for the sake of staying, for the sake of staying on the air, Doc, let's leave that one alone.
They actually send a strip out, take a strip out of the backside of the small intestine.
Right.
And then they send it to Germany, and most all catgut comes out of West Germany.
Really?
Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just Googled catgut, and it says it's the natural fiber found in the walls of the animal's intestines. Usually sheep or goat intestines are used, but it is occasionally made from the intestines of cattle, hogs, horses, mules, or donkeys.
Yeah, but we're not going to...
I've seen it stripped in a slaughterhouse, and it come out of the intestines.
Yeah, and you're not going to find anywhere old Sylvester the kitty cat involved at all, are you?
Right.
Okay.
Cats in the world for all of it.
Okay, Doc, thanks. Appreciate that. Isn't it interesting, though, the test shows that common knowledge is not common knowledge?
I'm sitting here looking up the uses for catgut, because I've never heard of it before.
Well, no,
for instruments, for strings, harps, lutes, violins, violas, cellos, acoustic guitars. So yeah, they make the strings for instruments.
Yeah,
like that.
And it's just like asking an obvious question: which country makes Panama hats? And the class stood up and they yelled, "Panama, you dolt!" And then the answer is Ecuador.
Yeah. Then why are they not called Ecuador hats?
Well, would you really want to step into a bar in the Old West and somebody says, "Where'd you get your hat?" And you say Ecuador? It just doesn't sound tough. Panama. That's where I got it.
Panama.
Yeah, Panama.
I always think of the canal.
Yeah. But anyway, it just goes to show you that we're not as smart as we think we are.
No, I know. I pretty much feel like a dolt at this point in time.
Nah, don't be. Of course, now the reason we're padding time here this morning, folks, is because I had a guest at 10:06 that called me this morning and had the flu and couldn't come on. So I guess what we could do now, I could ask you, and its answer's obvious, because you and Randy Wynn are waving the Seahawk banner. Who's going to win the Super Bowl Sunday?
Seahawks. But according to Las Vegas pollsters, nobody's calling it.
Yeah.
So, you can just basically pick your team. Of course, you know me. My team is going to be the Seahawks because, never mind, I'm not going to go.
Well, this will shock you because I was so doggone depressed after what happened. And you have to admit, Green Bay gave Seahawks the game. They did. And I'm going to pick the Seahawks, and the score will be 30-24. 30-24. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of Panama hats and Panama, do you remember who it was that penned the giveaway of the Panama Canal back to Panama from the possession of the United States?
Who was the president?
No. Who penned the bill to give it back?
Oh, who penned the bill to give it back to... Oh, my.
Boy.
Pardon me?
Give me a hint.
Yeah, give me a hint.
I said he's a local boy.
Local boy. That helps me a lot. Was it Joe the janitor over here at the local school or what? I don't remember.
No, it was one of our senators.
Oh, was it...
past days.
Yeah, was it Frank Church?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought, yeah. I remember that now that you gave me that clue. Yes, it was Frank Church. Yeah. Thank you.
Much for your trivia.
There you go. That's a good question, too. And all of a sudden, when you said one of our senators, it dawned on me that he had done that, and it was Senator Frank Church. Thank you very much for calling. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
God bless you, man. Thanks.
Go Seahawks.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Have you ever really... I picked up a couple of books, when I was in the hospital and everything, and I got these trivia books, and there really is a wealth of information in some of those trivia books, a lot of information that people scoff at, but it might come in handy sometime.
Sometimes it's having the wealth of useless knowledge can be really, really handy when you're playing trivia and or Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes. That Jeopardy to me is a game that's really hard because your mind is given the mindset of answering a question with an answer instead of phrasing a question.
Yes, but you have to phrase it inside the question.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that show.
Well, did you see the other night on what's the game show where they guess they turn over the letters, Vanna White?
Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. That it came down to the painted desert. Did you see that? And they went around with the three contestants, and they all said, gee, oh my, pointed desert. They all came up. They couldn't say painted.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the A was the only vowel not flipped over.
And the I. And they looked at it, and the one guy says, pointed desert. And I thought that, who's the guy on there?
Pat Sajak. Pat
Sajak. I thought he was going to have a heart attack looking at these people and how they could possibly be that stupid.
Sometimes the most obvious is going to be overlooked.
Yeah, we do that on this program.
All the time.
All the time. Oh, thank you, Gina, for taking the test. And please do not try to jump out of any basement windows later on today.
I'm not going to take it too much.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Oh, I got to get started back down there again with my knees and get the old leg going for this summer. Yes, sirree. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Now, here is the number to call, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. They have got a great staff, friendly staff, well-trained staff, ready to serve you with all the exercises, sports medicine. They've got that hydrotherapy pool. Oh, my. So please get a hold of them today, 678-1191. They will help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Wonderful, wonderful people. Now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios in just a couple of minutes, and we're going to have, coming up after the bottom of the hour, Dave Bego. And Dave, of course, the author of The Devil at My Doorstep and The Devil at Our Doorstep, and he fought the SEIU union and won a couple of years back. He's a great businessman, lives back in Indianapolis, Indiana, and he's going to be talking again about SEIU and Obama and how together they're doing all they can to destroy the free enterprise system in America. So don't miss that, coming up at about 10:32 this morning. Let me see, what else did I have here? I had a public service announcement, but I misplaced it, so I'm just going to say we're going to send it back over to our main studios, and I'll be back in just a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour this morning. And I'm going to have my dear friend Dave Bego on the air momentarily, but so I don't have to interrupt him at midstream, I'm going to do the weather forecast real quick. And the weather is brought to you by Scarro's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. No better custom processor for meat anywhere, covering all of southern Idaho, the best of beef, pork, lamb, and wild game. They guarantee everything they sell at Scarro's Meats, selling taste one bite at a time. Here now is Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hi everyone, Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. Well, you got the rain, you got the fog, you got a mess. Okay, now like I told you before, 46 below in Fairbanks. It ain't that bad in the Magic Valley. So that being said, what's your weather for today? Well, it's Wednesday, and you're looking for maybe a slight chance of rain, even though it is raining. That fog is going to still hang around, and it's going to slowly but surely skedaddle out of there. 46 for the high wind is going to be out of the west at about 10 miles an hour. That's going to kick the fog out. Fog tomorrow, but still the temperatures are pretty good as far as it being in the 40s all the way through the weekend. The best chance for a lot of sun, very little clouds, is looking like Friday, carrying you all the way over until Sunday night. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. So what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Here is the number. Write it down. Call them. 324-7657. Scarro's Meats, as I said, the very, very best of beef, pork, lamb, and the processing of wild game, and the guarantee of everything they sell. And they sell taste one bite at a time at Scarro's Meats over in Jerome. Well, right now, we're going to go to the phone lines, and I get a chance, as I said a few moments ago, to visit with a very, very dear friend of mine, a noted author and businessman, and just proud to call him my friend, and that's Mr. Dave Bego. Dave, good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm great, Zeb. Thanks for having me on. Hope you're doing well.
Well, much better. Thank you for your kind remarks. I appreciate that. And I kind of want to get started on a lighter note here this morning. We're going into Super Bowl weekend, and we have one team that is trying to repeat as the world's champion, and we have another team that has been there before, but they're coming in under a cloud of possibly cheating, the New England Patriots. What are your thoughts about the big game this weekend?
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game, but I have to be honest. I think the Patriots may have the edge, even though Seattle's been, reigning champion. I've watched the Patriots beat up our Colts pretty bad, and I'll tell you what, they got some talent, and they've got a good game plan.
Now, that leads me, boy, that couldn't have been a better segue. When you say the game plan, it looks like the SEIU and the Obama administration, they also, unfortunately, have a pretty good game plan trying to get rid of free enterprise in America. That leads me right into your blog. And by the way, that was an excellent blog. Take it from there.
Well, thank you for that. I've got some nice comments on my site, and I invite people to my site and make comments. But there's a guy from Florida that says, basically I hit it right on the nose, and he says, will you please make sure everybody in the U.S. House and U.S. Senate gets a copy of your blog? They need to read it. And, Zeb, I've fought the SEIU, and I know who they are. I know what they represent. I understand their tactics, and,
how they confuse people with their misinformation and everything. And, they trained this president. And, together they believe that this country is wrong, that we're what's evil in the world. And they want to tear down our free enterprise and replace it with socialism or communism. I mean, the SEIU has marched in the streets of California with the Communist Party.
Okay, now, Dave, those are pretty strong words, and I would use them. You did use them because I think the ideology and everything with Obama is very blatant and very upfront. But a lot of America might sit there and say, oh, come on, socialism, communism, you've got to be kidding me. America, I think right now, has just been lulled into a false sense of security with this man, and anything he can do, the majority of people are going to accept. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, they do. It's where we're at as far as the number of people, but and I see this so plainly, Zeb, because I fought it with the SEIU, and they use the same tactics. And like the president, they're very eloquent at presenting things to people and saying, these people that are business people and successful, they don't care about you. We need to help you. Here's how we can help you to make better wages. It's like their fight with McDonald's, the fight for 15. You can make $15 an hour instead of minimum wage or whatever it is, and all these things. And they're very eloquent about it. And if you think about it, our president is too when he speaks. I mean, he is a good speaker. The problem is you have to cut through that, and you have to go out and get in front of the public and expose them. And one thing that I have a problem with is that the Republican Party, the conservatives out there, don't go out and get in front of people on their own turf and expose these things. Because I know from experience when you do that, you start turning the tide.
Mm-hmm. Dave, for the sake, we've done this before, and you've written books called The Devil at My Doorstep and The Devil at Our Doorstep, and along with your blog. But maybe, for the benefit of the audience here this morning, maybe you could explain in kind of a short story what happened with the SEIU and you, and where did the SEIU union get so much power?
Well, because there are, I hate to say this, but they're very good at intimidating people and lying to people, and it's all about forcing people to do what they want to be done, and it's all about control. And if people go to my blogs, in fact, in my current one, there's an insert in there that says Obama and the SEIU sitting in a tree, and you can go to that and watch it, and it's Obama speaking to the SEIU in Chicago in 2008, and he basically says, I've been a part of you my whole adult life, I've worked with you, I've organized with you, and together we're going to paint this country purple, and purple is the color of the SEIU. And, when the SEIU attacked me and my company, they didn't want to give my employees the right to an election process to decide if they wanted to be part of the SEIU. They wanted me to sign an agreement to take away the secret ballot election and go to card check, where they get a bare majority of people to sign union cards. They're automatically union. And to facilitate that, I would have had to give a list of all my employees and their home addresses so they could go to their homes, intimidate and terrorize them until they signed the cards. And I wouldn't do it. I was the only major company in our industry that wouldn't do it, and we had a 4-year battle, and we won. And during this battle, I found out, I was naive when it started out, but I learned and found out what they're all about and what they really care about. And it's not about the employees, their members, it's all about their agenda, their political agenda, and that's to fundamentally change this country. Does that sound like our president?
Absolutely. Now, you in your last blog gave credit to some stories that were found in Phil Wilson's publication, and about New York City, about the SEIU involved in Ferguson, Missouri, etc. Would you give us kind of a short compilation of what their involvement has been in some of these different stories around the United States?
Yeah, I mean, the SEIU is... they've been behind the scenes at Ferguson, helping organize the people there rioting and protesting. They're involved in New York City and some of that protest, plus one of their highest paid members of the SEIU and their management staff, guys making over $100,000 a year, was actually involved in attacking the New York police men there in New York. And when you look at these things, people, they're skeptical. But I have to tell you, and I relate this when they attacked us here in Indianapolis. They had, downtown Indianapolis is what we call Monument Circle. It's a circle, and with a monument in the middle of it. And they actually had that circle filled with people protesting me and our company, and signs and everything, kind of what you saw with Governor Walker in Wisconsin when he was running. And when you went out and you talked to these people and asked them, are you members of the SEIU? Are you employees of EMS, of us? And they say no. And we'd ask, well, why are you here? Well, they paid us cash to be here today. Do you know what you're talking about? No, they just told us what to chant and wave these signs. And this is the same thing that's going on in Ferguson and New York and other places. And they do this because they're in league with the president. They can stir this stuff up, and then the president subsequently can say this country is racist, they're out against the black community, and we need to change this country. And they're all in cahoots together.
Dave, when you look at the current theme of the news with what happened in Ferguson, what happened in New York, and the divide that has been caused by this president and Eric Holder and others in this administration, have we gone beyond the healing point, or can in the next election somebody step forward and put this America back together again as a United States of America?
Well, Zeb, I'm always an optimist, so I think, yes, we can, but we have to get the right people out there, and I'm encouraged because the more I'm watching things on TV and listening to things and talking to people around the country and that, I'm seeing them start to lean towards people that haven't been the front, that have not been in the front runner's seat before. And I'm talking about people like Governor Walker and Mike Pence and some of those people that really understand what's going on in this country, and they're willing to get out and get in front of the people in their own backyards and their own neighborhoods and talk to them about the reality of what's going on and what they really stand for. And, that's another one of the things, tactics we use against the SEIU. We went out and talked to our people around the Midwest that were under attack by the SEIU and sat down with them and talked about what the SEIU was saying and doing. And when you sit down and you talk to these people and they find out what you're really all about, they're smart people. They get it. And, Walker did that in Wisconsin. He did it in the Hispanic neighborhoods, the black neighborhoods, the white neighborhoods. He did it in the union neighborhoods, and those people got behind him. I mean, he got 35 to 40% of the union vote. And this is what we need going into 2016.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. There is, maybe I'm seeing the wrong thing, or maybe I'm reading the wrong tea leaves or whatever. But when you look at Scott Walker, and I'm really behind him, I picked him over 2 weeks ago. I said, man, watch out for this guy. He's got answers to the questions. He's going to go if he can get the money. And there you go, Dave. It's going to take $1 billion with a B dollars possibly to make a good solid run for the presidency. Can he get the financial backing?
I think he can. I think there's people out there that are going to be behind him. I think you'll see, people like the Koch brothers be behind him and other groups because I think they realize too. I think there's a lot of groups that are beginning to realize that, the traditional front runners like Romney. Romney's a smart man, and I think he would probably be a good president. But he doesn't have that personality, that ability to connect with the common people. And I think some conservative groups are waking up to that. And I'm hoping by the time we really get into this 2016 election race, enough people wake up, they're behind somebody like Mike Pence or Scott Walker, because that's really what we need in this country.
But Dave, do you think that there's enough ability to unify the Republican Party instead of having the offshoot fractions like the old graybeards like McCain and McConnell and the Jeb Bushes and those, and let the new people come in with new fresh blood and really start to solve some of these problems? Or will the old guard try to keep the control?
Well, I think you'll have some of that, Zeb, but I think there's enough savvy in people out there that they realize that things are changing, that they'll get behind the new wave, and we have to encourage that. People like you and I have to encourage it, that the old guard needs to wake up and see what really needs to happen if we're going to move this country forward and stop this administration and people like the SEIU.
You know, when you talk about Obama, and he's got about 722 days left in office, as a businessman, a very successful businessman, what are your biggest fears about the rules and regulatory systems that he's going to try to impose on us?
Well, he's already in the process of, he did it with the National Labor Relations Board. I wrote in my previous blog about the ambush elections. It's another payback to the SEIU and other unions to force unionize people overnight. Changing the election from 42 days down to 21, but if the unions want, they can actually get it down to 10 or 11 days. And, no company can get out and address the situation in time, because the unions are already have people misinformed and intimidated to vote for them. And my concern is that the same thing is going on in other branches of the government to aid these type of unions and other groups, whether it's in the environmental end or the Department of Labor. And I think it's a real concern, because I think the objective is that if they can topple this country before the next election and maybe declare martial law and take us to socialism, they'll try and do it.
When you look at the situation in the Democratic Party, and it seems like they've already anointed Hillary as the queen bee to take over, are you surprised that somebody hasn't tried to step forward and say, no, Hillary doesn't have the charisma, Hillary doesn't have the personality, and Hillary doesn't definitely have any answers? Are you surprised that some Democrat hasn't stepped forward, or are they just going to go ahead and give her the crown and let her sit in the seat?
Yeah, I am kind of surprised. You'd think that they would do it, but, they're looking at it. She's a woman. They don't want to do anything to hurt the women's vote out there that they depend on. And, they've all been put in their place about that. And I don't think people understand how much on that side of the aisle that they really depend on intimidation to achieve their objectives. And if they believe that they need the women's vote out there and that Hillary's the one they need to collect those votes, they're going to get the other people not to step forward, and whether it's through intimidation or what. I have just been shocked over the past several years since I was woke up by the SEIU, how much goes on the other side of the aisle to achieve their objectives.
One question I wanted to ask you, and it's away from the SEIU or Obama, but as a businessman, and you know the economy and what makes America tick, we've been blessed lately with lower gas prices. I've had quite a few segments on this, but I am watching the door. I don't trust Obama. I don't trust anything about his stance with the environmentalists. I had a gentleman on this morning from the Institute of Energy Research that also agrees with me. I think we've seen the bottom of the well, and now we're going to see prices escalate. I think we're going to see higher gas taxes imposed on us. I think that we could be seeing extremely high prices for gasoline in this country, and right where the environmentalists want us, and it's going to have a crippling effect on the whole economy. What are your thoughts about Obama, the environmental movement, and gas right now going into the next election?
Well, I think the oil price drop is a short-term thing. I think by the end of the year we're going to see it go up significantly, and Obama is going to continue to press for the environment. And I know people think I'm crazy sometimes, but you got to look at it from perspective. Does he really care about the environment? Probably not. But he knows if he makes us move towards alternate energy, whether it's solar or wind power or whatever it may be, he knows that's much more costly, and it's going to be much more costly to the country and to people, and that it could really help collapse the economy. And, collapsing the economy is the way to take over. And that's what they're looking for. At the same time, it's paybacks to the people that have supported him to get him in office that are in, the alternate energy business.
Absolutely. Dave Bego, God's blessings to you as a dear friend, and Super Bowl coming up. You've picked the Patriots. I am going to have to go with Seattle, even though they knocked my Green Bay Packers out of the running. And you win, I'll send you, I think you must have a whole basement full of wine by now of all the losses I've had. I'll send you another bottle of wine, but conversely, if I win, I'll look for the FedEx truck. Anyway, God bless you, and thanks for being on the program.
Well, thanks, and you take care of yourself and get feeling better.
All right. Thank you very much. Dear friend of mine, Dave Bego, a great businessman and, of course, author of The Devil at My Doorstep and The Devil at Our Doorstep, and an outstanding blog that you really should try to read every week. He does a great job. Thank you very much. Oh, let's see. I've got to pay some bills here real quick, and I've got to tell everybody about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, boy, 7 locations serving you, and each and every one very, very qualified to help you with the best of tires, whether you need traction tires, passenger car tires, or if you need performance tires for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs. They've got all your tire needs right there. And they know tires, believe me. And a lot of people don't realize they have the best of batteries and front-end alignments and shocks and struts. But they also provide a great brake service, the best brake value promise in the industry, professionally trained technicians, and believe me, when you put your foot on the brake, you're gonna whoa, you betcha. So stop in today and see any one of the 7 locations serving you at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Holy smokes, Gina, where did the morning go?
Flies by when you're having fun now, doesn't it?
You know, what do you like to watch on TV? Do you like to watch the old movies, or do you like to watch the game shows? What's your favorite television entertainment?
I like watching game shows. I like watching comedy. I like things. I like educational shows. I watch a lot of PBS, actually.
I have got hooked on that channel that we get through the Dish Network, and it's the old Western TV shows channel.
Yeah. Is it like TNT?
Yeah,
movie classics?
Yeah, and they show all the old movies. I mean, you might see the old movie Stagecoach with John Wayne, and then the next one might be a fairly new movie, you know, The Rounders or something like that. Mm-hmm. That is an excellent channel for me that's a Western buff. I really enjoy that.
You like that, huh?
Yeah. Do I have a call?
You do?
Oh, okay. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Just a quick thing. Have I been missing it, or is Kate Smith gone?
What do you mean, Kate Smith gone?
You know, don't hear her singing in the morning.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Every morning at 8:06?
Every morning. I would not start this program without
That's
Kate
what
Smith.
I thought, but this is, I've heard 2 days now, and right from the beginning, and didn't hear it, so, okay.
Well, it's there. It's either there or I'm not. Kate Smith is absolutely, I will not change that. I think I told you this story. I ran into a guy one day, and he said, well, why don't you get Whitney Houston or somebody else to start your program with God Bless America? And I said, no. I love Kate Smith. I don't think that there's a singer today, and if you have your favorite, that's fine. I've got mine. I don't think there's a singer today that could match the pipes, the volume, and the control that Kate Smith had. Man, that lady was highly underrated, and I think she does a jam-up job of singing God Bless America. What are your thoughts on that, Gina? You agree or not?
You know what? I like Kate Smith.
Yeah.
I like that I get to hear her every morning. Not to say that, like, maybe Faith Hill or Whitney Houston or others don't sing the song beautifully as well, but I honestly agree with you. She is totally underrated, and I like to feature her every morning.
Now, you're, of course, way, way younger, but do you remember her number one song that really, besides the patriotic songs like God Bless America and everything, that really made Kate Smith famous? If you can, I'll give you the title, and you can Google it and look it up. It was When the Moon Comes Over the Mountain.
Oh, I've not heard that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I will check it out.
Yep, and she could sing. She used to have a TV show, and she was how do you say this politely? She was a rather large lady, like a lot of women are that sing opera, and she could belt out a tune. Let me tell you, she was fantastic.
We've got White Cliffs of Dover that she did.
Do you have that right there?
Yeah.
Oh, quickly, put a little bit of that on.
No, we'll just close the show out with it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, tomorrow on the program, as Gina knows, it's our busy day. We have Thursdays as we've got a different segment almost every 5 minutes. First hour, we'll have the open forum with all of you calling in with all your questions and comments and everything. And then, of course, we'll have the Chamber Report, and we'll have Dog Nation, and then we'll have Rita Ramsey. I always look forward to having Rita on our program on Thursdays. Starving to Death, Cassia County School Days. Now, I want to highlight that a little bit. Tomorrow on Cassia County School Days, we're going to have the Cassia County nurse, Kyle Hodges, and we're going to be talking about the measles outbreak that occurred at Disneyland without the vaccinations. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And then we're supposed to have James Herson, attorney from California, talking about all this hubbub with Michael Moore and others running down the film American Sniper. Right now, I'm going to say goodbye. We're going to turn it over to Gina, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And as she promised, here's a little bit of Kate Smith to take us home for this morning.